investigations, they interviewed 500,000 Muslims. They interviewed 500,000 Muslims. And they did not find a single piece of information yielded by those 500,000 interviewed which could have helped them stop what happened on 9/11. But it gives you the size of scrutiny this community has gone through. And he says, I like you and your community to know that you are one of the finest and the cleanest community I know. Second point, I will skip all the rest of the stuff the government has done. But the impact has been substantial. Wages of Muslims in the US has gone down by 10% since 9/11. It's the University of Columbia University and the University of Illinois research came out early this year. 22% of neighbors, as a result, Americans don't want to live next door to a Muslim. Well, the fact is that wherever Muslims move in, the property values go up. Whether African American Muslim or Arabs or South Asians in Chicago area, whatever neighborhood they move in, property values go up. But 22% of neighbors, they still don't want to live next door to you because of all the nonsense they hear on the day in and day out basis. 41,000 Americans, there is a study called Americans on Hold. New York School of Law came up, I think, April 24th. They have not been granted citizenship for last 4 years, although US law requires you make a decision about it in 120 days. The result of this economic and the government scrutiny is tremendous. There is a higher level of domestic violence in Muslim families. There is a higher level of conflict in all Muslim organizations and all masjids. And there is a higher level of divorce, especially in your generation. But my generation, who've gone there, done that and everything, they are breaking apart. There's a major impact. And how it is showing up? It is showing up in a way that 50% of the Arab Americans surveyed in the United States were found with clinical signs of depression. Not just, I'm depressed today, I'm stressed, no, clinical signs of depression. And since they studied on the Arabs, when they isolated Arab Christians, which were 30% of those surveyed, it went even up. I have no doubt in my mind that it is not just Arabs, although they studied Arab, overall situation is like that. So this is not a theory, this is not just TV, it's a real impact on real people's lives. So this is one variable why Muslim organizations are suffering. Money comes from these people. If your 10% of your wages are gone down, less money will come in, right? Why Muslim businesses are suffering? Well, if Muslim 10% wages are gone down, you're going to cut somewhere, right? We'll cut on buying things which you don't think are essentials. So Astrolabe is not essential. Sound vision is not essentials. Groceries are essentials and clothing is essential, well, to a certain extent. So people are going to essentials and things like that. There are other issues which I'll skip. But this is the situation we are in. And that has become a survival game for the community. And people are working on those survival games. Why there is a Department of Defense doing at the Muslim Convention in Chicago? None of them are recruiting us to fight in Iraq. What are they doing here? What Department of Homeland Security is doing here? What US aid is doing there, which is prohibited by law to spend money in the US. what Peace Corps is doing here. All these government agencies which has offices in the bazaar as well as here, as well as they are giving speeches, they were there in press conferences, and Grid and I did a press conference yesterday, they were sitting right in front of us. Why FBI is sitting there? Everybody who deals with overseas Muslim or overseas issues who are not concerned Americans, they are all present here. A defensive strategy by Muslims to relate to those people who are hurting in the most. But that's okay. I'm not criticizing it, but I'm telling you that survival strategy is in place. What we can do about that? That's where I will leave my recapping of the situation out there, and will move to the questions which you have. And then I will go to steps in planning, and then what I think how everybody can handle these things. This is very natural process. I used to be a youth leader. Actually, a lot of young people who still consider me youth, and they come and seek my advice, which in school, that what career I should adopt, and what should I do in my job. And so I'm sort of in Chicago, resident imam, unpaid imam of the young people. All my life I have done youth work, and I have seen within organization, all organizations face this. When you're not married, there's a level of time availability, the level of commitment availability, and all of that. And then you get a job, it changes somewhat. Then you get married, it changes substantially. This has nothing to do with the crisis situation. This is normal state of affair which all people go through. And how you're going to handle that is one question. So first thing, I don't think this is unique to you, but this is a common thing. There is and you issue the issues of recruiting leaders, recruiting members, motivating others to get involved. All of that will work fine if you recognize that being a bachelor and being a student is different than being bachelor and with job is different, and being with job and family is different. You just have to have separate programs for this. There could be common program, but it has to be separate program. That is just, I'm handling a question which you raised. In terms of recruiting, motivating, and getting people involved, this is also a field. In Chicago, we call it community organizing. Does this word and term exist in Canada? Have you heard of what is community organizing?
I don't think we have a formal. I don't think we have a formal.
This is a formal field. Okay. It's a field. In Chicago, it is big because this is where it was invented. A lot of Muslims in Chicago don't know, except that for the last several years I have been organizing training sessions by top preachers of this whole field, and there are multiple methodologies. But they specifically deal with this: recruitment, motivation, getting people involved. This is the main part of community organizing. The thinking retreat which you had, one of the techniques which I used there was part of the community organizing. When people are involved in thinking together, whatever problems are, there will be more and more will be involved. And I use that so often that just this year, I have done more than 13 of these in Chicago area. With the teachers and educators, I have done two, three I have done with the youth at different levels, and I have done with the council's staff. I have done with the imams in the South Side. South Side in Chicago means African American community. With them, and we have several other plans. And it is not that all they are saying I'm not unaware of. Well, I may be unaware of some of those things, but people talking itself is a way of involvement. Two things these people emphasize is one-on-one meetings. I'll receive a call and you'll be saying, Malik, I'd like to sit down with you on one-on-one. And sit down, and in a focused manner, get to know each other, who you are, what you're doing. You ask me those type of questions. We look for common interests. Human beings are not motivated and mobilized, that is normal human beings, through emails. This is emails is very easy to send out. Most of us think that you have done the job.
Yeah.
But it's also extremely easy to delete also. and now you all have those programs which will tell you how many people you will bother to open it. And opening could also be wrong. The mouse may be at the top of it and it got a signal that it opened while you actually didn't quite open. So you should even consider even less number of people are opening and all of that. Human touch is the only thing which works, but not a collective human social program. That is your strength, which you should continue and never underestimate the power of it. But you should have one-on-one connection and with people. This is major technique. If you like to know books in this community organizing, I will share with you. They are called relational meeting, developing relationship. When you have relationship, when people understand each other, they realize what will empower them, they will work on those things. And it will help develop a focus. And I have done some of these with non-Muslims also. Now let's get to the what is working for you. We had a long list last time, and what is not working for you. But steps in the plan, that will be the second part of my conversation. And that's where I would say that, last time whatever you had, that need to be written down by few of you in a little better way. Because remember, you started saying that this was the focus we came up with. Then you went on for 5 minutes reading lots of material. So lots of point are not focus. Here's what focus is. Ibn Haytham was the scientist who taught most in the world about eyes and focus and all that. This is the guy who are need to still thank for the glasses and all the things which help us in astronomy and all that, is directly connected with these things. Ibn Haytham, a Muslim scholar, non-Muslim know him as Ibn Hazm and different names. Focus means that when you're looking, look over there on that red thing, the alarm. When you're looking at it, you're aware of what is around you, but you only know thoroughly one thing. That is focus. So focus cannot be 20 things. Focus by physical definition, by scientific definition, has to be something one or two right there. So this need to reach to the level of that. Now, it does not mean that you abandon everything else, but it got to reach that level. Otherwise, you will remain blur in your vision. And blur vision is what is in the periphery. You know something is around, but face is not clear, personality is not clear, and all of those. So that thing has to be very, So next step, I would say, should be a committee of 2-3 people. They can decide to spend a whole weekend together, just going back and forth on the document, and finish the document, and then circulate, and you discuss that document further. That what is our focus, and what is top priority, what are other things which you are concerned about, and then allocate time and money to the focus, and rest of the smaller things should have less time and less focus. Because if you define the focus and time and money is equally divided, then you are lost again. So you're not lost in terms of your theoretical focus, but you're lost in terms of your money and time focus. I will get now to the final stage of what are the options which we have. First, general, and then I will give you my thought on for the camp. And what I am hoping, all of that will become part of when 2-3 of you sit down and spend a couple of days developing and finalizing that document. It should have as though it is the final annual plan or long-term plan which you have. And then you debate page by page and discuss and come up and adopt that. So all this information I'm expecting somehow through you, your collective memory or your type memory gets into there, and you decide what you choose or not. Because of all the pressure which I'm saying, I have shared with you a lot of Muslim organizations are going through crisis. And you are going through that crisis. It is very clear to me. It was clear to me in that meeting, it is clear to me, although in that meeting I didn't ask you a question of that type. So here's the general recommendation for Muslims by and large. At a personal level, I would say that, although we are hurt by the media a lot, don't consider you're going to do something to media as a camp. CARE is doing that, a lot of organizations doing alternate media, Sanvihin and many other people are doing that. Recently, I have stopped giving sermons actually for people to go and change their career and become media person, unless they have really a passion for it and a talent for it, and they're willing to do tremendous sacrifice, because there's no money in this field. I stopped preaching people to join the media and all that. And recently Harun Siddiqui was my guest here a couple of weeks ago. All of you know Harun Siddiqui, right? Yeah. And he said the same thing, that I don't no longer advise Muslims to go into the media. Because there is a glut in the field. There are so many people who want to get in. There's no issue of Muslim, not Muslim, but that's simply a big glut. And paper after paper are cutting. I mean, there were less number of people in yesterday's press conference than the people which I get when I do a press conference in Chicago. And I'm just a Chicago leader, not a national leader. Well, sort of national leader probably. I said, why? Because people are cutting down money. Reporters are not available to go out. I mean, there are very few people can afford reporters to go around and do press conferences. And since they don't expect anything major, when I do press conference, I'm talking about some major issues in Chicago which they cannot afford to miss. So they show up. And we have large number of Muslims, but they don't care for it. So if I'm not preaching that, what I'm preaching in terms of personal choices for career? Here's something which I'm preaching. And it is connected with family, domestic violence. It's connected with marriage and break of marriage and absence of people getting married and people not finding spouses. And it is also connected with what Islam and Muslim needs. So you are right asking people to go to the media, but I'm concerned for Muslim survival at this moment. I want to make sure that you go in a profession and you keep an eye like a hawk, which profession is going to give you more money. And I'm not looking for you to go for the loyalty, that okay, since I have a job and they are keeping me here, I'm going to be there. The day they don't need you, they're going to throw you out. So forget loyalty in job. Look for how you can advance yourself. A constant learning machine for what is in the future, what is coming up, where I can go and where I can move forward with. For that, for your career, for your business, for your family, and for Islam. Remember, all I counted. I counted Islam in, I counted family in, I counted your job and your money making. All I'm counting to. One thing is crucial, and that is your communication skills. There is nothing I can tell you more than this. I'm not asking you to become a professional communicator. If you do that, you will be comrade in arms with me, because that's what I do. I'm satisfied with far less of money. I have not accepted jobs paying $100,000. Don't get a lot of money by doing that. If you do that, that's relationship of love. Only you can complain to yourself about that, but expect reward from Allah. But communication is skill 3 types. Learning to speak. I have found lot of divorces taking place because people don't learn to speak. They're relying on the cultural signs for husband relying on wife understanding and wife relying on husband understanding. Well, they're not talking clearly. Well, Quran prophet, whenever he'll officiate the marriage, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has always a phrase, "Qulu qawlan sadida," have clear communication, have a candid, clear communication. In each marriage, he'll officiate, he will say that. And many times in Friday sermon, he will say that. After saying fearful of Allah and have clear communication. And he says, "Yusleh lakum amalakum." If you do that, your affairs will be clear and clean. Because you're communicating properly. That's Quranic words which he used to use. I have found this is absolutely needed for the family. Learning to speak. It's a skill. It's an art. There are books available. In America, we have Toastmaster clubs. Most likely you also have. It doesn't take a whole lot of money. Learning to speak. Job. I have physicians here who have a quarrel at the job position. I have top level scientists who feel they have hit the ceiling, they are not unable to go beyond. I have 40, 50-year practices of people which has broken. I have lawyers who are, every lawyer, Muslim lawyer is getting into private practice. I say, what in the world is going on with these people? Why everybody is telling me I'm going into private practice? So I try to understand and I learn they're not going to private practice because they love it. They got kicked out. But they are honored, they don't want to share with people that, I got thrown out and all that. And some of them are involved in lawsuit. And when I go through, they're none of their faults. So what I'm saying is, it is very competitive for Muslim to find a job, retain a job, but I'm not looking for you to find a job and retain a job. I'm looking for you to move forward within that job. And how that can happen? If you have good speaking abilities. People who have that, they are moving forward, opportunity is coming that way, because there are bad guys and there are good guys all around our job, who are very good people. They understand diversity, they understand multiculturalism, they understand that we are different, but we are good people. All people are not our enemies. I don't believe